feel extremely honored and happy to introduce our beloved speaker, Professor Dr. Thirunarayanan. Dr. Thirunarayanan is the Secretary of Center for Traditional Medicine and Research, an NGO. CTMR functions in the traditional healthcare space. Dr. Thirunarayanan and his team focuses on treating lifestyle disorders like diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, immune-related diseases like bronchial asthma and skin diseases, and provides palliative care for cancer through traditional medical wisdom of India. Having authored more than 8 books in Siddha medicine and translated quite a few and published research papers in peer-reviewed journals, his book has been translated in Russian language. Dr. Thirunarayanan is also the principal investigator in documenting traditional health practices in different districts of Tamil Nadu and involving in digitizing, indexing, and cataloging of ancient Siddha palm manuscripts. Other research projects on drug standardization and the principal investigator of an extramural research project on study on the unique Siddha dosage form Kattu. During the course of his career, he was invited to deliver lectures in various universities and institutions in India and abroad. He was a member of the Working Group of Planning Commission in Ayush, actively involved in various government committees on medicinal plans, public health interventions through Equitable Growth Initiative. He has authored development of ISM report for the state under the Tamil Nadu government, has served as an expert member in earlier mother and child healthcare program and subsequently in designing training module and kit for RCH program of Government of Tamil Nadu and in evaluating, monitoring and review. He has been the expert member of Medicinal Plan Committee of Tamil Nadu Siddha Medical Board. He has prepared the report on reviving and development of Siddha in the northern province of Sri Lanka. He is involved in training in specialities of Siddha system both to government physicians and shaping young ISM graduates. He regularly conducts lifestyle training programs for healthy living through Siddha in Malaysia, Russia, US, and other countries. He has done many health awareness shows on ISM to Arogya Bharatam health program on Doordarshan, sponsored by the Ministry of Health, promoting awareness through mass media for healthy living. He has been implementing the herbal gardens with the help of various NGOs, including Green Kovai, a part of AM Seva. Establishing medicinal plant gardens and conservation of medicinal plants by ex situ methods is his passion. I welcome you, sir, to give this
Thank
talk.
you. Thank you. Normally, the Agathiru programs are in Tamil, but since I know few of the participants today would like to have the program in English as well, I will be using bilingual, Tamil and English, for the benefits of everyone. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And this will not just for the practitioners of Siddha medicine, it will be mostly focused on the elders, the community to which we owe all our wisdom, all of our knowledge, all our efforts, all our growth. So it will be a talk which will be covering for the general public as well as the young Siddha physicians who want to treat the elders. Right? Is that okay? Right. See, aging is a very natural phenomena and it's inevitable. For example, the mobile that we use, the earphone that we use, the table which I use, the chair which I use, everything has a life, it has an age. So we don't decide our age. It happens automatically, naturally. Every passing day, we age by a day, right? But how do we age? That is very important. Aging with elegance is in the hands of individuals. The next slide, please. Right. When we talk about aging, it's all the more important how our traditions, Indian traditions, more particularly the Tamil traditions, have looked at aging. For example, Arunagirinathar's Tiruppugal talk about the aging as his robust, the shining body deteriorated completely and developed a hunchback. He became a singer, mingling only with and serving the wastrel who wastes the time. Similarly, if you look at Alvar's Pasuram, when they ask for salvation or self-realization, they clearly mention like Kilarodi Idamai, Sorvadu Munne. So before my yudham goes, please enlighten me, is what Alvar Pasuram teaches us. If you look at Adi Shankara's Bhajagovindam, it says, Sambrapte che sanyate kale, nagi nagi rakshade, dukho harane. Meaning, at the end of your life, at the end of your career, if you're going to study the grammars, that is not going to give you a salvation. So if you want to, and every Alva mentions this, when you are young, when you are energetic, you should visit all the temples and pray to the God, and you should be towards that. Shakespeare also talks about the signs of aging and the changes that happens in the whole body. So we will be covering all these aspects in our discussion today. Let's go straight into the signs of aging. The number one, we all know in Tamil, we say Narai, Tirai, Moopu, Pini, Chakad. And we also say, two more slides, move two more slides. Signs of aging, to the slide of signs of aging. Right. So it's also said the six things, our birth, our yudham, our disease, our death, and all those things, perumai, all those things happens during the formation of the fetus itself. Karivil amai. So very clearly, Siddhartha traditions talk about the understanding of genetic disposition towards one's aging process, or the yudham of one, or his life period, or his birth. Everything is determined right in the future life itself, right? So what are the signs of aging? The first we say is the narai, tirai. Narai is graying of hair. Tirai is the wrinkles in the skin. That's the fine line, that what you say in the face. The fine lines that you see, that is the wrinkles, right? The thickening of the artery, very important, is what we call as the atherosclerotic changes. Arteriosclerosis and the atherosclerotic changes. You are as thick as artery is what Shakespeare mentions, right? So thickening of the artery, the thickening of the artery increases the blood pressure. The pressure exerted by a column of blood on the wall of the artery is the blood pressure. Okay, when the
Hello, sir. கேக்குதா?
சொல்லுமா.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. So Shakespeare also mentions that is as thick as the artery. Then the loss of short-term memory. All the elders, when they talk speaking to you, they will start saying, when I was young, when I was traveling, when I was going to that country, when I was in my college. So they will discreetly remember every finer detail of their youthdom, but will start to forget the short-term memory, what they did yesterday, what they had for food yesterday. All those short-term memory, there will be a loss. Then always there will be a loss in the mental alertness. When I say mental alertness, what does it mean is the orientation to the space, the place, the time. So what is the time now? What is the place? And now. So those kind of loss of memories, senile dementia will set in. And because all their immunity is compromised, they will get into frequent illness, right? So the reflexes come down. When the reflexes come down, there will be a slowing down of the physical activity. There is a slowing down of a physical activity. So what are the factors? See, when we talk about aging, it could be the physical aging, it could be the mental aging, and also the social aging. So there are a lot of social factors. Primarily, we should look at social factors that accelerate aging. The first and the foremost is the depression. Why that is that? It's because something that they have been doing very regularly, something they were remembering, they are not able to remember now. They are not able to act at that fast like what they were doing previously. All these things, and sometimes they also feel that we are outdated, we are not up with the current technologies and things like that, and the current generation does not want to hear what we say. So those kind of depressions contribute a lot. The second is the inability to express emotions. So they do have emotions. People say, keep quiet, shut. So that is something that they have something to say in every issues, not because they want to say, because of the experience they have gained over many years. See, when we say aging, when we say elderly, we have different standards. For example, the Election Commission of India says the postal vote can be given only to a person who is 80 plus. When you want to avail benefits in railway travel, it's 60 or 65. In air travel, it is again 60 or 65. So the aging is different for different parameters. And when now the retirement age in state service was 58, now it's 59. And in the central government or the All India services is 60 years. So the age differs, right? So they also have a feeling of helplessness to change oneself for others. And many times now we see a lot of elders living alone. Even during this COVID time, I see a good number of patients. They say their family is elsewhere. My children are in Bangalore. My children are outside the country. So I don't know. I'm all alone. Only the someone may comes and helps me out. I don't know how I'm going to cope up. I'm so scared to go to the bank ATM. I'm not able to do these things. And all this loneliness creates so much of a problem. Not just in the COVID time, otherwise also. A decade ago, I distinctly remember in France, when the day temperature went up during the summer, there are a lot of death among the elderly because of dehydration of the summer, that they were not able to go out of the place. It's very unusual for an European country for people to have such a hot summer and to have problems. And as you progress in age, you will definitely feel that many of your friends have gone off. So you feel lonely because you lost a near one, a friend due to death or various other reason. Then the people feel that they are very lonely and there is an absence of close friends. See, a person who is very active up to the age of 60 in an office or holding a high position in an industry or somewhere, suddenly when he's asked to retire, he develops a kind of a retirement blue. He's got nothing to do on a daily routine. His daily routine, getting up at 5:30, starting up by 7 or 8, after finishing breakfast to the office and being engaged the whole day, that is suddenly lost. So when his work routine is lost, when his daily routine is lost, he feels distressed, right? And that's a job dissatisfaction. When I say job dissatisfaction, today, people from IT sector and other sectors with whom I interact, they say, nope, I don't want to wait till 60. I will quit much early. 45, 50 will be the age where I should be retiring. I'll try to look for a second innings in something else. I don't want to continue this profession, kind of thing. So there's a job dissatisfaction. The younger persons, because they work for overtime for more than 40 hours a week, long hours, they start feeling aged much earlier, right? And now today, and not just during the COVID time, otherwise also, now we are also slowly getting into the card economy from the cash economy, right? We purchase houses on moratorium, we purchase cars, vehicles, travel abroad, taking a loan and all those things. And all this becomes the financial burden that they are not able to get out of. They want to buy a house, they take a loan, but just because to repay the loan, whether they like the job or don't, they have to continue in that job, right? then there is somebody who always think what next, what next, what next. There will be a habitual worry or excessive worry. People start thinking too much about things. See, the gone past and uncertain future. But we should learn to live in the present. But most of the time we fail to do that. And therefore what happens is people start worrying about things that are happening. See, if there are issues of which you can worry, will there be a remedy or a solution to that? I don't think so. The solution or the remedy lies in what you can do in that situation to overcome that problem. So thinking towards overcoming the problem or forgetting the problem, allowing the time to heal by itself and moving forward. Right now, everybody has learned a lesson during this COVID time. Like you have no other choice but to wait and overcome the situation, right? And there are also people who often think that what kind of a sacrifice I have made for my friends, for my relatives, my siblings, even for my children, and now they have no time for me. This kind of, oh, I have helped so many, this, that, and all. Now at my elderly age, there is nobody. Probably you would have seen read in the social media, in Sweden kind of places, there's a way by which there's a time bank. Like you spend time when you're young, spending time with the elderly, taking care of the requirements, maybe for a few hours a week or something like that, that gets accumulated into a time bank. And when you become an elderly person or when you require some support, though you can draw the time from that. People will come to help you. That kind of a thing has to come into a country like India because we see a lot of elder homes coming up now. But that's in a way good in the sense that they have company. They have a common kitchen. They don't have to cook for themselves. There is somebody who can cook for them, nutritious food. They have a community living. They have social activities and things like that. So that is also a good option now, right? And the inability to do things make them get angry easily. And many times, though they are angry, they are not able to express themselves. In this, someone in the slang, they say, every time he's shouting. Right? And there are people who always indulge in criticism of others. There are two types of criticism. One is for the good for the others, for good for the society, that you point out certain things that are not in the right way. When you start criticizing, you should also be in a position to give a solution or a remedy to that problem. Without giving a solution or a remedy to the problem, simply criticizing does not take you anywhere or the problem that you want to address. There are factors that influence longevity. For example, the Prakriti. See, 30 years ago itself, certain softwares have been developed to know your Prakriti. In Tamil, we call it as Yakayin Yerke Lachanam, right? There are software, there are particular questions related to the body, related to the mind, related to your social performance, your activities, your hobbies, which are all listed in all the classical texts of Siddha and Ayurveda. And you convert it into tangible, answerable questions and or something that you observe and ask the person to key in that, you get your Prakriti nature. So certain Prakritis have got a better immunity, certain Prakritis are hyperactive, certain Prakritis have more of Pitta features and anger, hunger and all those things. So they have issues in the aging, right? Then what you are is what you eat. And it's repeated many times in many contexts. But here in the aging also, your food determines how good, how healthy you age. It's not the food that you take when once you become an elder. The food that you take right from the younger age decides and contributes. See, for example, now everybody is talking of immune building, immune boosting. It's a little too much. They're stretching it too much. But the immunity or something that does not come to you in a day or two. What you have consumed for over a period of time is what builds up immunity in you to fight a particular disease. Right? Taking a concoction for 5 days or 10 days is not going to build the immunity of anybody. Right? Then the reproductive practices. This is something which is very important and which is stressed many times in Siddha literature, right? See, excess indulgence in sexual activity reduces the lifespan of an individual. So they become more distinct into diseases. A classical example I would quote from the plant kingdom is many of the plants, say for example, Dulci, if you allow that to get the inflorescence, the flowers, the Dulci plant dies after once it gives the inflorescence. So when you grow at home, you clip the time when the inflorescence starts. So that Dulci plant, though annual, becomes a perennial. Not all types. There is one Dulci, Brindavan, you know, the Krishna Dulci. What you see in Brindavan is as tall as a shrub or a tree. It's quite tall, 7 feet, 8 feet. That's why Krishna could go around the Dulci one and play, hiding. Right? So the Dulci plant, if you want to have it for a longer time, you should not allow the inflorescence. Inflorescence, the seed setting is the time for reproduction. Right? That is the way we look at it. All these factors, your food, your lifestyle. When I talk about lifestyle, is the exercise, your habits, your anxiety, your stress, all those lifestyle. That also contributes positively and negatively on the longevity of an individual. Other factors that influences longevity are the stress is very important. Stress could be the physical stress or the mental stress. People used to say, you would have heard, my mother used to work for 8 hours, 9 hours in the kitchen and go to the households continuously. So that's why she is suffering from arthritis now. So it could be a physical stress, it could be a mental stress. So more stress you become, generally they say, no, you get gray hairs much earlier, wrinkles much earlier, the suppleness and the softness of the skin becomes earlier. These are something which you usually see, right? So the stress factor influences the longevity to a greater extent. The way to overcome stress that we will discuss later. Then the postures. Postures are very important when you work on a laptop sitting in a bed, or you continuously have a mobile on your hand and do it, or an iPad. And the posture you don't change for long hours, you get deep venous thrombosis, you get a lot of thermionitis, albitans, various other diseases of the blood circulation, the degeneration of the bones, nerves, all those things happen. The compression of the bone, the nerves happen. So the posture also influences the longevity. The occupational hazards, that influences the longevity. When you're happy with the job, you will be more interested in doing the job. When you don't like the job that you do, then naturally you feel sad about it, you get worries, you get into stress, and therefore that has an influence on the longevity. You see young people getting into strokes, young people getting into cardiac arrest, young people getting continuous gastritis and taking pantoprazole for a long time because of the stress, right? And there's also cross-cultural. This is something which is very important. See, people born in one situation, a rural area, moving into an urban area, from a city, moving into a completely different place where the language is different, lifestyle is different, food habits are different, to other countries. See, for example, many of the Indians who go into the Europe and US, and particularly places where you have a winter, long winter, and you don't see sunlight. All these people get into a lot of issues of depression, issues of degenerative bone diseases and all those things because they don't get adequate sunlight. So the cross-cultural shocks, when you go and work in a different environment, different group of people who do not speak your language, do not have your culture, do not practice your practice, that creates a lot of cross-cultural influence on you. The food, very important is the calorie. We determine food in Siddha based on the 6 traits. You should have a combination of 6 traits. If you have the right combination of the 6 traits, all the 3 doshas or the humors, Vada, Pitta, Kapha, will be in equilibrium, as well as all the micronutrients you need to get. You will get it from the more colorful food that you take, the more variety of food you take, the more greeny vegetables that you take. It's very important. Most of these green vegetables, green fruit, the greens, the leafy vegetables, and the intelligent carbohydrates, even in the millets and other things, they ensure that you have a proper calorie, proper energy. At the same time, you are not in indulgence because they fill your stomach much faster. And food which are highly colorful, aromatic, they have free radical scavenging activity and free radical generating activity. There are certain foods that you taste for your tongue or the palate, which are tasty but may not be nutritious. So the food that is devoid of all 6 traits, people deliberately avoid certain tastes like bitter, things like that. So that is also not healthy. Coming to the health, so far we have discussed about the longevity of an individual. That is about the physiological things that can happen to an individual, normal individual's life, and how the longevity of the person is determined by all these factors. Now we are going into the second half of the presentation, where we are going to discuss about the health issues of the elderly. The social factors we have discussed earlier. When we talk about the health issues of the elderly, there are 2 other factors. One is the physical health issues. Second is the mental health issues, right? If you look at that, India's population, 15% of the population are over 60 years of age, and most of them have a mental health requirement now. It could be forgetfulness, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, those kind of things. Then now it has been estimated that 20% of the adults over 60 suffer from mental and neurological, like peripheral neuritis, very simple as the peripheral neuritis or some mental illness. 6.6% of the disability are among the people over 60 years of age. This disability is mainly because of the mental and the neurological disorders. When we come to the physical health issues, I will broadly classify them into 6 or 7 categories. First is immobility. Immobility occurs because of muscle wasting. See, after 40 itself, you slowly start using your muscles, unless otherwise you have adequate physical activity. And again, if somebody is a diabetic, they slowly start wasting their muscles. And after 40 or 45, unless you have got adequate sunlight, unless you have adequate calcium in your food or bioavailable calcium in your food, there is slowly, the hormonal influences in women, they slowly get into degenerative arthrosis. It could be like a cervical region, it could be in the lumbar region, it could be the major joints, knee joints. The second important disability is the instability. The instability is the loss of balance. Many people elderly, they complain of a sound being heard in the ear, what we call as a tinnitus. Then they get into fall and fracture, the most common being the Colles fracture of the hands, or the avascular necrosis leading to fracture in the neck of the femur, the longest bone of a body, the thigh bone in common language, right? So this instability could also be postural. So that is why we always say, when you get up from the bed in the night to pass urine, you have to sit for a minute, settle, stand for a minute, and then start walking to the bathroom. Sudden change of posture can lead to what we call as a change in the postural hypertension. And always the fall happens in the elderly during the night time. So instability is something that they have to take care of. And it can instability, loss of balance could be happening because of slow degeneration of the cerebrum and the cerebellum. The cerebellum is something which is very important for controlling the stability of a person, and the vestibulocochlear nerve or the eighth cranial nerve is responsible for the proprioceptive sense and the balancing. So any damage to the brain or the degeneration to the brain, not necessarily a damage, a degeneration to the brain or impaired blood circulation to the brain can also lead to kind of a instability. Sometimes the peripheral neuritis, the burning sensation in the soul, particularly when elders walk in the temples or places where at home without a slippers, when they feel a sign, some kind of an irritation of a small sand particles or something like that, they suddenly start losing their stability. So that is one of the major health issues in the elderly. Then incontinence and poor bladder control. You know well, as they progress in age, there is a benign prostate enlargement in male. In female, particularly people who have undergone cesarean section or things like that, over a period of time, they start developing a kind of a incontinence of urine when they cough, when they sneeze, when they laugh loudly, when they go into kind of a stress, there is a overflow. Then also an urge, particularly diabetic and there is a prostate enlarged persons. The moment they get kind of a distinct filled feeling, they have to go and empty it. If they are not able to empty it immediately, there will be an incontinence, there will be a dripping kind of a thing. Then they also have a weak anal sphincter. So many times they say that I'm not able to control my bowel movement. Sometimes it leaks by itself. And there is also a loss of capabilities and decline in the functional ability. Even that's why we say no. In the Indra, the five sense organs is their acuity of vision, the field of vision, the hearing, all those things slowly, gradually go down. When it starts slowly, gradually go down, they should look at non-pharmacological intervention means to rectify them. I will explain to you a little later on that. Then there is what we call as the fibromyalgia, the aches and pains all over the body, the muscle pain, the inability to stand, walk. So there is an unexplained ache and pain. And this you also see in people with renal failure. So that also you need to keep in mind. Frail, they become frail, particularly people over 90 years of age. Then there is dehydration. There is always dehydration in the elderly, and they need to take adequate water internally, also have proper oleation to the skin. Otherwise, you know what happens is they get kind of a senile pruritus and keep itching continuously. This itching in the night causes small injuries in the skin and leading to secondary bacterial infection, or it disturbs the night sleep. Because of the disturbance of night sleep, they tend to sleep more in the day. And a small mosquito bite triggers this pruritus much more. Or a contact with an unwanted material triggers this senile pruritus much more. And because their immune levels are low, their chances of them getting infection is much high. That is why even now we are talking about reverse quarantine of the elderly, particularly during this COVID time. We request elderly to stay home. Well, when it comes to summer, the lot of people, elderly, particularly 80 plus, when the temperatures go up to beyond 37 to 40 in the summer in places like Chennai. Today is a very pleasant day, I would say. We have been having a very good rain in the morning, and now I hear there's good rain in Dharmaburi and Tirunelveli. So definitely it's a very pleasant evening, and I'm surprised a good number of you have joined for this session today. Thank you very much for that. Right? So what happens is when the elderly, when their sodium level drops even a bit from 135 normally to 130 or 128, they feel severely dehydrated. They get some kind of a hallucination, They feel weak. They feel, there's a giddiness. They tend to fall. Uh, all these things are sometimes a blabber things. This is all because of electrical imbalance. So generally what we do is we ask them during the summer, particularly they have no other features like diabetes or hypertension or something like that. We ask them to take nimbu pani. Nimbu pani is lemon juice with salt and sugar. Uh, they don't even require some kind of a IV fluid. Even a nimbu pani will help them to overcome that. So the electoral balance is something that we need to think of. And that is one thing that causes severe dehydration. They need to adequately rehydrate. Then the vitamin deficiency. So there is a tendency, all the green vegetables, kira, particularly, they contain a lot of fiber, though they help in easy bowel movement. For when the greens that are purchased from outside are too matured, the plant cellulose are not easily digestible by the elderly, so they get frequent bowel movements. So because of the reason, and many of them they lost the dentures, so they don't have a tendency to chew, bite, and eat the kira and green vegetables. So therefore, because of this inadequacies, they develop a lot of peripheral neuritis. Thyroid deficiency. See, as they progress, they normally many get into a kind of a thyroid deficiency, and it slows down their metabolism. Their basal metabolic rate becomes very slow, so they don't have a tendency to eat well. Because they don't have a tendency to eat well, I think you might have seen the recent advertisement. The child's stomach is too small, so it's enough you feed them little. But what is important is to give them a lot of nutrition. The concept in the advertisement is very good. I don't subscribe to the product that is being promoted, but the concept is the educative way of educating the people. So the less of digestive enzyme, the loss of appetite, the thyroid deficiency is slowing down the basal metabolic rate, deprive them of the adequate nutrition that they require. Right? The most important is the hormonal imbalance, well, the postmenopausal problems that the female undergo. So that kind of a hormonal imbalance in female hasten up the occurrences of osteoarthritis in women, benign prostate enlargement in male, which unattended tube can, if the PSA value, prostate specific antigen values goes beyond a limit, that can lead to, cancers go to the prostate. So all of these things are the basic things that can cause us physical issues. Now, how do we address these physical issues in our traditional Siddha medicine? The muscle wasting. First thing is educate the patient that whatever age, they should have some kind of a physical activity that they will be able to do. It could be a physical activity like yoga, asanas more particularly, which they can do sitting in one place, depending upon their age. The sit-ups, in Tamil what we call as the Topukarnam is now promoted as the power yoga. See, the Topukarnam is something that, you have holding the ear lobe, your hand muscles get an activity, your thigh muscles get an activity, your calf muscles get an activity, you rest your palm and sole properly, sole properly, and your plantar muscles get a proper exercise. So that is something that has to do. The Surya Namaskar, the simple form of Surya Namaskar. So the physical activity is something which is very important. When I talk about all these things here, I would like to stress upon something that in elderly care, I will focus more on non-pharmacological interventions, meaning drugless therapies more. It could be a physical activity, it could be a food. We start them, ask them to take some nuts. They say that nuts we cannot able to bite, chew. So we suggest that it can be powdered, made into a gentle ladu kind of a thing, not much of sugar. So it could be incorporated into the food slowly. So protein-rich foods are something that we need to, even if you're a diabetic who has got a muscle wasting, protein and the exercise are the two things that will side us. And we have a lot of nuts. The pulses that we have are too many. The Navaratri, each day, one of that is made in Stundal. So those kind of a protein, the milk protein, yeah, the skimmed milk is okay for the elderly. It's a must. It's a requirement. I repeat, the skimmed milk, if they are not obese, the skimmed milk is essential, and you have to remove the fat. And the milk that I suggest is always, if they have a poor digestion, we always ask them to use a bit of turmeric and pepper. The reason why we use turmeric and pepper, you all well know that curcumin, how effective it is in arthritis, how effective it is in Alzheimer's, that is the forgetfulness, how effective it is an antioxidant, how effective it can reduce the blood sugar level, how effective it can reduce the cholesterol level, and how good it can prevent infection. Pepper increases the bioavailability, and it's hot. It's a hot spice, so it keeps the pitta good. Otherwise, you develop ama, the kapha, more of kapha into the stomach. So to overcome that, we add the peppercorns, powdered peppercorns, as well as turmeric. So when they take milk, they have to take this. See, the milk protein is an animal protein that they can combine to other this thing. The goat's milk, sheep milk is something very popular. You have to look at Mahatma Gandhi. So he took the peanuts and the goat's milk. So who else could be a better model of a healthy aged person than Mahatma? Right, the instability. The first thing is that when you keep exercises, even sitting and extending your arms and bringing your fingers together, touch that, have the balance properly, sit and do a kind of a butterfly exercise thing, kind of a thing. That all helps them to have a better balance. And if they are too elderly, it's important for them to have holders in the bathrooms. It's important that they have holders, a hanger kind of a thing, which is very important so that they are able to walk. There is no harm in them using a walker when they go out, or a walking stick with a typical quadruped walking stick, which is of lightweight. So these are the things that they have to do. And you know well, the health supplements that an elderly can take, I repeat this again and again, the Indian gooseberry, why it was given to Avayar, the ashwagandha, the amukarakazhinga that we call it in Tamil. These are certain things that are anabolic, prevent the muscle wasting, the bodybuilding. The mucuna the kapir kechu, atmagupta in Sanskrit, the Punekali in Tamil. All these things are not just Parkinson's. It's also very helpful in as a protein supplement. If you look at the tribals in the Vedaranyam, Nagapattinam, don't ask me whether Vedaranyam has got a tribal population. They do have right in the salt pans, down Vedaranyam to Agasthyamballi to the Kodiyakarai region. Those tribals, people who live there, the natives, they take the Atmagupta, the mucuna seeds, cook them, boil them, and take them as a supplement. Right? Those are the things that can help ashwagandha. Then for the bone stability, the vitamin D, the exposure to sunlight. You can sit in the sun for 15-20 minutes before 8 or 9 in the morning, or after 5 in the evening in a situation like Chennai. And my everyday, darling, I would say, is the Paranda Togel or the Paranda Podi. Of the tender parandai. I always insist it is the tender parandai that is where scissors quadrangular is for people who do not know Tamil. The adamant creeper in English. That parandai togel or parandai podi is something which is very important for the bone strengthening. For the incontinence, there is no better herb than the Bacopa muneri. For the wrinkles of the skin, there is no better herb like Centella asiatica. Nirbrahmi and Vallare. These are the two things that I'm talking about. The incontinence, for the forgetfulness, it is the Nirbrahmi. It's for the skin, wrinkles, wound healing, all those things is Vallare. They're not one and the same, they are two different. And I've seen a lot of elders whom the teenagers have gone off with the simple treatment with ashwagandha and Bakaba Munari. Right? Chronic pain, sterility. The most, this thing is correct, their anemia. Murga kire, manatakali kire, the green vegetables, the leafy vegetables is what that can make them come out of this chronic pain, myalgia, which usually occurs because of anemia. So that is something, or circulation, impaired circulation. So when I talk about impaired circulation in the elderly, the chittarathai, again the dry ginger and the chichar, the chukku and arathai is something that is very helpful in the chronic pain, even in the arthritis pain, right? The senile pruritus and the peripheral neuritis on the sole, the simplest remedy that I have found to be very effective is the internal consumption of small quantity of Acalypha indica leaf, Upamani, and the topical application of castor oil. But mind you, when apply castor oil, they should apply only that quantity that the sole can absorb. They cannot walk without slippers, particularly at home. They should have a slipper at home. When they have to go to bigger temples, the older temples, where the floors are not regular, with the stone floor, which have a lot of heat and things like that, that's the chances of the peripheral nerves getting injured. So they should wear a socks. Or they should go when it's very clean, the wash and dried properly, and that is the thing. And for the instability, one important thing is that they should always keep their bathrooms dry. Keep the bathroom dry. Use a ventilator and keep it or the thing or the exhaust fan, and so that it's dried properly, so that they don't have a slip. Very important. When you have an oil bath, ensure somebody cleans the bathroom immediately after that. Right. So these are something which are non-medical intervention that can help a long way. Mental health, there are different classifications in the mental health. Number one is intellectual impairment, the loss of short-term memory, the senile dementia, the space and time orientation. Then I discussed about anxiety, depression, dementia. Dementia could come under both categories. And a lot of health problems which come because of that. Physical problems can also occur because of their loss. They say that, oh, I am not taking food. They will insist on a second cup of coffee. So people get sometimes irritated. What dad I gave you just now and you are asking me again. They have a tendency to have some too much. Definitely they will not take much of the quantity, but they won't want to be deprived of a sweet or a snack, though they are not able to consume a lot. So the caregiver should be a little careful in giving them whatever. The cause of depression, I have explained earlier, that the bereavement in the family, a loss of a close friend, sibling, or a phase of socioeconomic status. That's very, very common. Somebody, when they retire, if there's a government service that they plan for the pension fund properly at the younger age, the financial consultant will guide you on that. They should have a proper planning for the financial distinct. And one of my bureaucrat friends will always say, "Pallapadina pambu." They would have a lot of power with them. When they lose the power, they will not be able to digest. But there are many who use this thing to advise people properly, and they are always wanted. For example, there is no one else I could quote for today's thing than our great Parasaran, a decade who fought in the Ram Janmabhoomi case, and he did not want to sit and argue. He wanted to maintain the protocol of the Supreme Court. Look at his age. Amazing, right? So those kind of people, there are many elders I know. I know a friend who joined an Ayurveda course after 62 years and completed it successfully at 67. So it's not that you cannot contribute. They can definitely contribute to the society, and the youngsters should use this thing. But people should not feel depressed on their own without even trying out something, right? That the practice that they have to start much younger. If we are a Saivite, you should start learning Tirumoolar, Tirumandiram much earlier. If we are a Vaishnavite like me, we should be learning the Nalaya Prabandham. So everybody has got something to learn. Every community, every religion, every practice, the social and the religious practices are also very important for people to do. There's no denial of the fact, right? And living in isolation. These are something which are causing the depression. So the best way is Tirumoolar Tirumandiram, the 8 tools of yoga that it prescribes, the simple postures. You will not be able to do all the asanas, the postures. When I say there are many postures that you can sit and do, the Batmasana, the simple asanas that you can do, the breathing exercises. See, breathing exercise is very important because one of the most common problems that people get is indigestion and also poor bowel movement. So the poor bowel movement happens because of there's a limited space. The diaphragm does not move down. The diaphragm, which separates the chest cavity with the abdominal cavity, has to move up and down. So it doesn't move up and down. So only when you take a deep breathe, retain and relieve it, hold it, like the pranayama exercises that have been taught to us. So when you do pranayama, there is a lot of abdominal movement. There is a lot of peristalsis that happens. The bowel movement happens. When I said you can do the sits up, when you bend forward, bend backward without falling, depending upon the age. And you can sit and do these exercises also. So when you do all these exercises, the abdominal exercises, the bowel movement will be very regular. Okay, what if I don't get that? Take plenty of water. Don't take all the water in the morning itself. And the simple method like fenugreek, soaking fenugreek and taking it in the morning. That's very important. Or if you still have a complication, a problem for a longer time, then nothing better than the combination of castor oil with the tender chebulic myrobalan, what we call as the kadikai pinji and castor oil, once in a while. But never make it a habit. When the problem with the sabja seeds are also good. Isabgol is something that people advocate, but still you have to be very cautious because the moment you put it in water, you have to swallow it, otherwise it swell and choke your digestive pathway. The simple Ashtachoranam, King Ashtachoranam, they call it in northern India. Here is the Ashtachoranam, which contains the tricato, the cumin, the different types of cumin, the asafoetida, and the rock salt in the po. So in the Perngayam, the Ashtachoranam is something that is very good for the bowel movement, the digestion. When the digestive enzyme is low, the appetite is low. Siddha talks about both the body and mind. And the most important component of Siddha that the elders should know is the Kaya Kalpa. Right? So there's an exclusive branch of Kaya Kalpa or regeneration therapy. See, what is regeneration? See, age happens to everybody. It is inevitable. A car cannot be used after 15 years. You have to get a fitness certificate again, right? But whatever components you change, it will not be like the original, right? So, some of us use our mobile for 4 or 5 years. Some of us use only for a year or two. It again depends upon how much frequently that we use, how good we maintain it, and all those things, right? Similarly, our body, though it's a living organism, can regenerate by itself, but it requires adequate input to regenerate. Again, when I say regeneration, it could come from food, it could come from exercises, it could come from healthy life habits without not smoking, no alcoholism, not indulgence in other vices and things like that, and also consuming certain herbs at regular intervals or a frequency, right? So it's a multi-pronged approach, and most of the food ingredients that is suggested, for example, Indian gooseberry, nellika, or turmeric, when you invest lycopene in tomatoes, when you investigate most of them, they have very good antioxidant values. What are the antioxidants? The oxidative stress is something that allows the cells to age faster. The aging process becomes faster because of the aging of the cells, because of oxidative stress. So there are certain herbs, there are habits, there are food supplements which can bind this oxidating agents called as the antioxidant. They are measured in terms of ORAC value, oxygen radical absorption capacity value, ORAC value. So many of the food particle ingredients that we consume in everyday practice have got good ORAC values, so that they are pretty good, which can prevent aging. And most of the Kayakalpa recommendations are this. What does it do? Is that reversal of aging? Is that retarding of aging? No. When you are 60, you can never become 30. You can never become a Markandeya. But to be a Markandeya, you have to start when you are 16 or 18. At best at 30 or 35, you should start into these habits. This is about maintaining the youthfulness, enhancing your immunity. See, there is a confusion. Immunoboosting is something idiotic, because many times autoimmune disorders or certain disorders, even the cytokine storm that we are discussing in COVID, is because of excess activity of the immune mechanism. So the right word to use is the immunomodulant. We have discussed about amla, we have discussed about turmeric. The two other immunomodulants that our traditions have given us, not just in India, overseas also. For example, what they call as the holy basil is dulci. In the Europe, what is called as a holy basil is this sweet dulci, sweet basil as a sabja. Vasimum tirnitra pachale, we call it in common man parlance here. So that is something. They have oregano, they have mint, they have various other thyme, the sage, the rosemary for remembrance, but the commonality is all of them become to one or two families, right? That is very important. And immunomodulants, the other very important immunomodulant that we have in India is Vilvapatra. That is why most of the Shiva temples, there will be a Vilva tree. The leaves of Vilva, when you make it into a tree and drink, it can, I assure you, lot of asthmatics have come out of it, lot of people with the degenerative arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis or ankylosing spondylosis were able to overcome that or continuous use of Vilvapatra. And it's also something which is allowed by Lord Lakshmi and offered as a prayer to Goddess Lakshmi. Dulci is another which is very specific against noise-induced stress. So this culture, sabja, is revered also in Islamic traditions. So all these things are linked together and rejuvenating the body. That is what we have the Kayakalpa herbs. That could be herbs, that could be spices, that could be the honey, the milk, the clarified butter, very important. Nay is called as Anna Suddhi. That is sanctifying or purifying your food. So it is important to have 1 teaspoon of clarified butter, is nothing but ghee, right? Butter may not be allowed, cheese may not be allowed because it can influence the cholesterol level and increase the thickness of the artery. But clarified butter is definitely allowed. It's very healthy. And there are a lot of marine products that, glucosamine that you get, all those chitin you get, chitosan that you get, are also of the marine origin. The coral reef, for example. The Kayakalpa aids could be a pranayama, it could be asanas. Some of the herbs can prevent photoaging. Photoaging is not a major problem in India, but for the fair skin it's a problem. That's again, there's a story that people from the West ask me how you people do not get wrinkles at a younger age. A younger age for them is 60, right? Many of them at 60, they get wrinkles. It's mainly because of the sandal we use, the turmeric paste that we use. A lot of things can prevent the photo aging. The Arjuna, terminally Arjuna, the Mardam Battai. Mardanilam tan nannir valam konde, seriye pini anaitum bokungan. So the Arjuna bark is something which is very important, which reduces the cholesterol level. It prevents the thickening of the artery. It's very important. The pranayama helps in better oxygen exchange and better circulation. I mentioned about herbs that can improve the neurochemical transmitters. Bagaba Munari is one example where GABA, melatonin for memory and good sleep comes from milk. Mani Mantra Aushadha, all the three are very important. Chanting of mantras helps a lot. That's why the use of rosary is not limited to one religion. Maybe that we are using the basil, Dulasi as a rosary, Drakshas, this thing because of their health benefits also. So that rosary, use of rosary is universal in all religions, all major religions in the world. Arjuna is very important, Nillika is very important. Vallari, Sectala Asiatica is important. Ectecta alba is very important for prevention of graying of hair, strengthening of the teeth. Dentures is something which is very important. The acuity of vision is very important. If you have a healthy liver, you live long. So for liver, it's very good. For respiratory illness, Ectecta alba Karsale. Vallalar, Saint Vallalar talks much about the Karsale Karpam. So that is something which is very important that we need to look at. The simple proverb which everybody repeats and repeats, say, but still it's very relevant. So I need to tell, Kalel inji nanbagal chukku malayil kadakkan mandalam unda kolai undi kulainde narandavar kolai visi kulavi nadappare. So that's why even now, even during the COVID condition, to fight against the infection, see, it will not prevent the entry of the virus, but it can help the fighting the infection. So the ginger tea is recommended, the dry ginger is recommended, chukupal is recommended, nillika is recommended. Pranayama is extensive. Since I'm running out of time, maybe one day Dr. Padma Priya will cover this part of it. Job satisfaction, healthy marriage, feeling personal happiness, ability to laugh easily, ability to make and keep close friends, regular daily routine. You create your own routine. See, in the COVID time, our routine is lost completely. But people who are happy are the ones who have introduced new things. They have started learning new things. See, for example, I'm surprised, amazed. I'm surprised, I'm amazed with my young friend Mohammed Ajmal. He started the webinar serial after the COVID. We have done 35 webinars. Those second for me, the team has done 35 webinars inviting different people. So all these 35 sessions, I'm sure could have contributed at least 1 or 2 points for our life. Every day is a day of learning. Everybody is a Shishya and everybody is a Guru. Right? We need to have a pleasure time and indulge in small gardening, music, sun exposure, chat to your friends on video, interact with people, learn new things, don't feel alone, right? Be optimistic about the future. Feeling financially secure comes once you start living within your means. See, there are certain things that are avoidable. Now we hear a lot. See, not many people take their cars out. So the travel expenses have come down so drastically. People are not going to the malls. Expenses have come down drastically. Theaters. One cinema with their family is 2,000 rupees today. Not just to see the things that you take in the lunch, break time and things like that. Life of awareness is very important. Don't expect too much from your body. Don't expect too much from your body. If you are not able to do something, don't exert and overdo. Do things that physical exercise or activities that you are able to do. But start gaining strength, ability, and then start doing whatever you want to do. Be positive about life. It has a great ability to heal. Last but not the least, since my tradition, the system of medicine, comes from the Saivite culture with the influence of Buddhism and Jainism, we should learn the art of renunciation. Even the Vaishnava literatures are plenty with that. How to renounce. It always says, do things when I am young. Teach me when I am young. Take me as a Shishya when I am young. Particularly Nammalvar, all these things are Thirumangalvar, all those alvars, this thing you see, you get a lot of this information. Learn to renounce. To conclude, Siddha has clear ways and means to improve longevity and quality of life. You have to adapt this much earlier. Start with simple practices that you are able to do. And most of the things that I have recommended or suggested does not require a lot of expenses. They are doable. Thank you very much for your patience. Maybe if there are a few questions, I will take them, depending upon the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your informative and valuable speech. It is quite interesting. Any doubts from the audience?
Herbal food habit to cope up. Okay. So, Kalayil inji, Nanpakal chukku, Malayil kadakai. So, when I say inji, you can take amla and inji as a pachadi. Amla and inji as a togayal. Amla chadam, Nellika chadam. You can, I mean, Nellika moraba. If you are diabetic, you may not be able to take a moraba, but you can take the pachanamla, powder of Nellika. And you know, the lot of varieties, soup, Murugakira. I always insist on Murugakira and Manatakal Kira. The thing that you have to take is in the tender form. And you can have a rice, or easily digestible parboiled rice, that are the native varieties. It's not necessary that you have to have it all the times. And if you take millets, you take only 3 days a week, that too only in the morning. Don't prefer to take the millets-based food in the evening. So a lot of things can be doable with the foods that we consume, and have a variety of native vegetables. Don't restrict to few vegetables. Oh, that won't help you much. What is GABA? Gamma aminobutyric acid. There are two things which are plenty in two things which have plenty of gamma aminobutyric acid, which are good for memory. One is the pusanika, the Vella pusanika, what they throw it on Amavasa day on the road. That should be taken, consumed. Pusanika kutu is something which is very important. People have to take pusanika kutu. And other thing which contains plenty of GABA is Neer Brahmi, Jala Brahmi, Bacopa munari. It's available as medicine also. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, I can take some questions.
Okay, sir. Any doubts? Okay, we will conclude. I invite Dr. Pavitra to deliver a vote of thanks.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. நீங்க ஓல்ட் ஏஜ் பீப்புளோட பிசிக்கல் ஹெல்த் எல்லாமே ஒவ்வொன்றும் சொன்னது எல்லாமே இன்ஃபர்மேட்டிவா இருந்துச்சு சார். மோஸ்ட் ப்ராபப்ளி யாருமே வந்து மென்டல் ஹெல்த் பத்தி பேசுறதே தான். ஆனா நீங்க அந்த பிசிக்கல் ஹெல்த்தோட மென்டல் ஹெல்த் பத்தியும் சொன்னது ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருந்துச்சு. அண்ட் அதோட சித்தா ரெமெடிஸும் சொன்னது, அப்புறம் யோகா, பிராணாயாமா, காயக்கல்பம் இதோட இம்பார்ட்டன்ஸ் எல்லாமே எடுத்து சொன்னதுக்கு ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ் சார். அண்ட் மணி மந்திர அவிழ்தம் இது எல்லாமே வெளியில கொண்டு வந்ததுக்கு ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ் சார். அப்புறம் இம்யூனோ மாடுலேட்டர்ஸ் பத்தி சொன்னீங்க, அது எல்லாமே யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருந்துச்சு. தேங்க்யூ சார். தேங்க்யூ ஃபார் யுவர் இன்ஃபர்மேட்டிவ் ஸ்பீச். I would like to thank Dr.T.Thirunarayanan sir for his informative speech, and I like to thank all participants for active participation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.